What's up, guys? So I just recently went on a miniature touring trip across Arizona with my dad. He's the one that kind of got me into motorcycles from a very young age. We've always had dirt bikes, so I was super stoked to be able to ride with him. He just bought a brand new Harley Davidson Road Glide CVO edition. It's like their top of the line Harley Davidson Road Glide. It's actually a pretty cool bike, but I was super pumped to get to ride with him. We did about 400-ish miles on the first day, and then he continued on back home into the Midwest, and I came back here to Phoenix. It only took me about 2 hours. So I wanted to make a video on the Z900 and how it handles long distance trips, if it's possible. What are some of the pros? What are some of the cons? What are some things that we need to talk about? So I want to go over some of the things that you look for in a touring motorcycle, and I'm going to rank those based on the Z900's performance. So stick around for the video. Make sure you guys drop a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and let's get into it. So a few things I think most people look for in a touring bike would come down to gas mileage, comfortability, the amount of storage, the GPS and navigation capabilities, how much power the bike has, and of course, overall, the most important thing of any motorcycle, no matter what kind of riding you're doing, is it enjoyable to ride? So let's get into some of these things. So the Z900 has a 4.5 gallon tank, and I was honestly pretty surprised with the amount of mileage I was able to get from a full tank. There was a point during our trip where I thought I was going to be able to get over 200 miles on one trip, but I didn't want to push it too far, so I went ahead and just filled up when I had about 160 miles for one trip on that tank. So we were going at speeds of around 60 to upwards of like maybe 85 miles per hour max, and the Z900 really performed well in the gas mileage. If you're going at slower speeds like that and just kind of cruising at a slow cruising speed, the Z900 can really push the limits on mileage. Normally, if I'm riding around the city and having fun, doing my normal riding, I can get upwards of 120 to 140 miles on a good day. So this kind of shows that if you're going a little easier, just cruising, enjoying the ride, you're going to get a lot more mileage. And the next thing I think is most important when it comes to touring on any motorcycle is the amount of storage you have. And when it comes to the Z900, as most of you guys know, since you probably have one, and if you don't, you know sport bikes have very minimal storage. And the Z900 only has one storage compartment. It's under the rear seat, and it fits about a wallet size worth of stuff. You could probably get a wallet and a microfiber towel in there. It is actually really, really small. So luckily for me, we're only going on a one-night trip. I didn't have to bring a whole bunch of extra clothes. Only needed a change of underwear and socks for the next day, of course. So the only luggage I needed was a tank bag, which I carry with me at all times, no matter what, to put my wallet, my earbuds, my keys, my phone, all of that good stuff in there. And I also bought a tail bag, which fit my extra pair of gloves, extra layers, extra underwear, extra socks, all that good stuff. So if you are going on a longer trip and you have to pack extra days worth of clothes or extra layers or an extra jacket or anything like that, you'd probably have to get some bags on the side, which is not something I've ever wanted to do. So that is kind of why I would recommend against getting the Z900 as a touring bike. But the reason I'm making this video is to show you guys that if you only plan on doing that type of riding every once in a while, then it is possible. And next up on the list of things I think you should look for in a touring motorcycle comes comfortability. So overall, the Z900 is actually a really comfortable bike. I think most of you guys know it's more of an upright position, which I will be switching up later on. I have some new handlebars on the way to make it a little bit more sporty, so my hands will be a little bit more forward and down. But with the stock handlebars, it's actually a pretty comfortable upright seating position. But with almost any motorcycle, your butt is always going to get tired after a few hours. So overall, the Z900 was pretty comfortable, and I think most people have the misconception that if you ride a motorcycle, you're going to be comfortable, you're going to be warm. The average temperature was in the 40s to 50s, and the morning when I left, it was about 35. And I think people have a misconception that riding a motorcycle is supposed to be comfortable, when in reality, you're riding because of the feeling that it gives you, the freedom. It's not so much just about being comfortable, but I do have to say the Z900 held up pretty well. I wish I had a little taller windscreen to deflect the wind up a little bit more, but overall, I was pretty satisfied. So when you're touring on a motorcycle, most of the time you're not going to know exactly where you are. When I'm riding around in the city, I almost never need navigation. I know most of the places where I'm going, and if I don't, I can look it up beforehand. But when you're out on the open road, it's hard to know exactly where you are, or how many miles you've traveled, and the Z900 does not offer any type of GPS or navigation. So for the most part, my dad was leading while we were riding because he has a big old touchscreen with a navigation and you can move it around while you're riding, and it's super convenient. Whereas the Z900 doesn't have any sort of navigation, so you either have to have some type of tank bag or phone mount to use as a navigation, which is actually pretty simple, but I don't ever like having my phone out in the open on the handlebars on the Z900. It's just exposed, and if it gets hit by something, I lost my phone, and then I don't have navigation, I can't call anybody. So what I normally try to do is just stick it in my little tank bag. There is a clear plastic sleeve, you can slide it in, and then instead of always having to look down, you can turn on the audio navigation, and through my AirPods, it'll tell me when I need to turn, how many miles we have left. So you do have some options in terms of navigation and GPS, but it's something that you're going to have to figure out aftermarket once you buy the bike and figure out what suits you best instead of having a big old touchscreen where navigation is simple and you can adjust things while you're riding. All right, guys, so the Z900 is totally capable of touring, especially in a mini trip like this in Arizona where the weather is really not too bad. But there are a few things that I would look for if I was going to buy a bike specifically for touring. First of those things being off-road capabilities. Clearly, the Z900 is a street bike. Taking it off-road would just be silly. So if I was going to buy a bike specifically for touring, I would like to get something with off-road capabilities, something that you could take on the trail, something built for a little bit more of a bumpy ride, something that can really get out there and explore a little bit more than just on the street. Some extra added wind protection would be nice, not even just a taller windscreen, but something to block that cold air from hitting you in the head, the neck, the legs, all around. Something that is a little bit more fared to handle the wind would actually be pretty nice if you're going to be touring for long days. If it's cold outside, that cold wind really does get to you after a while. Something to block the wind from your hands, which kind of ties into the next point of heated grips. I know aftermarket heated grips are easy to throw on almost any motorcycle, but as a touring bike, if you're going to be in the cold, keeping your hands warm is super important, so some heated grips would really be beneficial. And that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. The Z900 is the perfect bike for me for the type of riding I do, the minimal amount of touring I do. It has everything that I personally need. So I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you're looking at getting the Z900, or if you already have one and you're thinking about doing some of this stuff, I hope you found it helpful. If you have any questions, drop a comment down below. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. But for now, we'll see y'all in the next video.